I'm currently the horn professor at Bowling Green State University in Bowling Green, Ohio, and I've been principal horn here in the ARbor Symphony since I believe 2007 is when I started, or 2006 when I started. I can't quite remember.
How did you get involved with the ARbor Symphony?
It initially started when I first moved to the Midwest. One of my good friends is Willard Zirk, who is the former principal horn of the orchestra. And when he heard I'd moved to town, he had me come in and play extra horn for a few concerts when someone was out or if they needed extra instruments. I particularly remember the Mahler second we did here at Hill Auditorium with ARbor. It was quite a moving, powerful performance. And I thought, wow, this is a fantastic band and a lot of fun to play with, and ARbor is a wonderful musician. And I was very lucky in that soon thereafter Willard had decided to go on to different things with his career, and the position opened up.
You played the horn solo on the Mozart Horn Concerto No. 3 this evening. Tell us about that concerto.
Well, the concerti of Mozart are really fascinating. They've become kind of the hallmark of our instrument. And they're very personal music. They were written for, we know who the player was. There was a guy named Ignaz Leutgeb, who was a friend of the family. He was the first horn player in the Archbishop's Court Orchestra in Salzburg. Knew Leopold Mozart. Leopold wrote him a concerto as well. And then later in life, he moved to Vienna and was there with Wolfgang and was playing in the opera orchestras and also the court orchestra. Was also doing some solo performances. And Wolfgang started writing for him as a dear friend. He had known him his whole life. We know that Mozart probably started about 7, maybe 9 concertos. He had finished 3 completely. There were fragments of 2 that got finished off as the D major concerto. And they're full of all little jokes of not just, some people get into the joke and how it could have messed up like his performance, but I really see them as just kind of a touching gesture to someone he's known his whole life. Obviously Leutgeb was a remarkable player to be able to perform these concerti. This concerto doesn't actually have any of those jokes. The second concerto has a very funny dedication to him, calling him an ox and not very gracious player. The D major concerto was written on a gold staff. He used gold ink just in the horn parts so that when played by candlelight, the staff disappears and you can't read where the notes are. All those sort of little things. But from what we can tell, Leutgeb was a phenomenal player. He had done some solo playing in Paris in 1770 to great acclaim, but we actually know very, very little about him as a human being. We know he, beyond his horn playing, he also sold cheese and had a very flourishing cheese business in Vienna, which Leopold Mozart gave the seed money to create that shop. And I believe he died in 1813. So I particularly enjoy this concerto because it's not the flashiest of concertos. It's not just sheer virtuosic display. All 3 movements have a very loving, heartfelt lyricism to them, which I really enjoy very much. It shows not only technically what's capable on the instrument, but brings out the lyric singing qualities that I think this instrument does particularly well.
Do you have a favorite part of the Horn Concerto No. 3 that you play?
Oh, well, the second movement is absolutely delicious. It's one of the most beautiful things written for the horn. And the last movement has these wonderful hunting call interplays between the horn player and the first clarinetist in the orchestra, and some of the bassoons as well. Mozart liked to stick in hunt calls, hunting music for the horn player inside the last movements of his concerti, and all of them have a little bit of that kind of raucous hunting horn quality.
And also on the same program, Mozart Requiem.
Fantastic program choice, fantastic. That's one of those great works of humankind. We can really look at several pieces of music that have such a huge scope, even though Mozart never finished it, and we can think about what it would have been like had he had finished it and Sussmayer didn't. But even what's there is sheer magic. It's such a powerful work. It incorporates so many different colors and ideas, the use of the soloist in quartet setting as well as solo movements, the orchestration, use of basset horns and the dark sound coming from the winds. It's some really profound music.
Tell us about your Grammys.
Oh, I was lucky enough when I was living in Southern California and when I first moved to the Midwest, I was still playing with an ensemble called Southwest Chamber Music, which is a chamber ensemble that's focused on and dedicated to contemporary music and underplayed, unheard of music. And they had this idea, the founder Jeff Vanderschmidt had an idea of recording all of the chamber music of Mexican composer Carlos Chavez. It was a huge project. It took 4 CDs to do. And it was kind of fringe element because most of Chavez's music, he's known as a brilliant symphonist. Wrote a lot of very huge symphonic music. Bernstein dedicated El Salón Mexico to, Copland dedicated El Salón Mexico to him. Bernstein also, a lot of his music was premiered by Chavez, who was a brilliant conductor as well. So they did the first disc, which was primarily for strings and percussion, and lo and behold, it got nominated for a Grammy and won, Best Classical Small Ensemble Record. Volume 2 was primarily chamber music for winds, and I'm playing on the Sonata for 4 Horns, which is a landmark piece. It's one of the first major horn quartets, predates the Paul Hindemith Quartet. And lo and behold, again, that one was nominated and won a Grammy. And then volumes 3 and 4 went on to get nominated for Greatest Classical Album of the Year. They didn't win, but to get that nomination was quite strong. Yeah.